Okay, so I'm gonna try this a third time. Okay, so I am gonna do this video. It's a little different. I'm actually gonna do this. It's kind of like an open letter to new teachers or teachers who just got through maybe their first year or whatever. And it's basically like things that I wish I knew or things that I learned along the way during my first and second year teaching. I've actually been a teacher for the last 4 years. I taught the first year I was teaching American history at a local college, a community college. Well, it's not a community college anymore, but I taught there, and then I also uh, have been teaching for the last 3 years. I taught at a middle school. Well, yeah, 6 through 12, but I taught middle school. I taught English or language arts for eighth grade. And so in the last few weeks, I've had at least 4 or 5 people that I know who either are looking or were looking for positions and got it, or they're whatever the situation is, or they just finished school and they're getting ready to start teaching, so they just feel excited but anxiety, like they don't know what to do, even those who've done like student teaching. And so I just came up with, I think, 10 basic things just to keep in mind, especially during your first year as a teacher, so that you don't get too overwhelmed, and, just to kind of help you along the way, like things I wish I knew. Okay, so the first thing is, okay, so now you're a teacher, you've been hired. First thing you got to do is just breathe. Just breathe. Okay, it sounds like a lot. It is a lot. Um, it's a new journey. It's a new adventure. I have thoroughly enjoyed teaching thus far. So just breathe and just know that everything's gonna be fine. You got through the interview process. You did everything you were supposed to do to get hired, and now you're anticipating. If you're in elementary school, you're anticipating maybe 20, 30 kids. If you're middle and high school, now you're anticipating anywhere from 100 to 150 kids. So just breathe. It sounds like a lot. You will be fine. Okay. You wouldn't have been hired. Your principal or whoever hired you, they wouldn't have hired you if they didn't think you were competent and they didn't think that you had the ability to take on this task. Okay. Because to me, teaching is not a job, it's a calling. And it's not something that just anybody can do. But if you got the job, it's because they saw something in you. Okay, so just breathe, okay, and enjoy this time before, in anticipation. You should be excited because it is something new. Okay, the second thing I stress to you, and I had to get over this little mental thing myself as a new teacher, is don't be afraid to ask questions. It's okay if you don't understand something or you don't know how to do something, or if you just don't know, it's okay to ask. Okay. Even before school starts and you're just prepping for it, like you don't know where something is, or you don't know where to look up certain documents, or you don't know how to, whatever it is, you don't know how to do something, ask. Okay, that's what other people are there for. Do not be afraid to ask questions. It doesn't mean that you're incompetent. It doesn't mean that you won't make a good teacher. Don't be afraid to ask your peers. Okay, don't be afraid to look up resources, and I'll actually get to resources that they're kind of one and the same, these two tips, but I'll get to resources in a moment. Number three, throughout the year, pace yourself. Okay, because when you get your standards, no matter what state you're living in, whether it's Common Core state standards or whatever, when you get your standards, you're going to look at it and be like, how in the world am I going to teach all these standards in 36 weeks, which was, four 9 week quarters. How in the world am I going to teach all these standards? Pace yourself. You're going to be given what's called a pacing guide, but I'm just saying, just from day to day, pace yourself. If for some reason you don't get to cover everything that you want to cover in that lesson plan that day, it's okay. Carry that lesson plan on to the next day if you have to. Or if you got to reteach something because they didn't quite get it, it's okay. It doesn't mean that you're a bad teacher. If, you have some kids that don't just get it right away, maybe that's a teachable moment for you of finding different ways to present the information, because you're going to find that not all kids learn the same way. Okay, whether they're little kids learning, their letters or, sight words, or if they're in high school learning chemistry or calculus, they're not all going to learn the same. So it's okay if you got to take an extra day to do something, or if you got to take an extra day to just do a task that you have to do on your own as a teacher. If of course, if there's not a deadline for it, if there's a deadline, you need to hurry up and make sure you get it done. But in just a general sense, it's okay if you need extra time to do stuff. Pace yourself, okay? You got a whole year to cover what you need to cover, and if you're not sure, once again, ask questions. You can kind of see what other teachers are doing in your department, and be like, hey, what are you guys working on now? And that's what I did. I actually, being an English teacher, I would ask the social studies teachers, what are you guys working on? And I would cover topics or standards that kind of went along with whatever it was that they were covering in their classes, because we had a lot of the same kids. Okay, another thing, in addition to pace yourself, this is something that I had a mentor my first year, and she was phenomenal. She was one of the best sources of information and just encouragement. She told me, because this is something I used to do, and this is my advice to you, not to do this, okay? You'll probably see teachers that have like these little carts, like the little rolly carts to and from school every day, and I take mine back and forth religiously. This is something she told me. She said, only take home what you know you can do. Don't pack up a cart full of stuff if you know you can't grade all that in one day. Like, why take it all? It's just going to cause more mental stress for you just seeing all those papers. Take what you know you can do. And that way, let's say if it's only one class worth of papers or two classes worth of papers, and that's all you take home for the day, even though you might have 5 or 6 classes. Well, if you get through those, you'll feel a sense of accomplishment. It's just like with goal setting. You take one big major goal and you break them down into little goals, little daily things or little weekly things. And so when you accomplish them, you feel that sense of accomplishment, and you're not, beating yourself up. Well, I haven't gotten this done, or I haven't gotten that done. Take your time. It's okay. All right. Number 4. This is another piece of advice. I can't remember, maybe my mentor told me or someone else told me. Especially in the first few weeks, like that first month or so, the 2 most important things you need to worry about having, like from day one, from the jump, is 1, your classroom management plan and your lesson plans. Okay. So when I say classroom management plan, I also am including like your classroom policy and procedures, basically your rules. Like I've noticed a lot of teachers and administrators are kind of getting away from saying classroom rules. You'll hear like classroom management plan. So basically, in policy and procedures, like for example, like, when they first walk into class, what are they expected to do? Are they, like in my class, the first thing they know I'm the queen of the PowerPoints, and they know when they walk in, there's going to be something on that screen when they walk in for them to do. So they know they take their notebook. I had all their work was in their 5-subject notebook. They already knew I need to have my 5-subject notebook with me and something to write with. So when I get in there, I sit down and I look at that screen. Whatever you want to have them do every day as soon as they walk in, make sure that you have that policy or that procedure in place, because it'll, once they get in a routine of things, because kids like routines, whether they realize it or not, they like to be on routines. And so once they got that routine down, it kind of buys you some time to, get yourself together, whether you got to do attendance or you got to finish writing something out, whatever it is you got to do, or prepare for the actual lesson. Because me being middle school, I had 5 classes. So I would have to, the kids from the previous class just cleaned up and put everything away. Well, now I got to reset up for this new class period that just walked in. So by them doing the journal prompt that was on the screen, that gave me 5 to 10 minutes to kind of get myself situated. So having that in place, and then also your lesson plan. What are you actually going to have them do that day? So don't worry about 2 months from now, when you're first starting out, especially that first month, really that first quarter, is just make sure that, make sure that they know their, the classroom policy and procedures, whatever your policies and procedures are, and also your lesson plan. Already know what you're going to have them do that day, or what you're going to cover, whether, and that includes like having your objective and your agenda and all that. And I know sometimes it's hard updating that stuff on your board. Yeah, because that gets old. But it helps for you, and it also helps the student. It helps both of you be on track as to what you guys are going to do. Okay, so I would really suggest that you keep those things in mind. The two most important things that you need to worry about, like the first quarter, really. Let's just say the first quarter. Classroom management plan, including the policies and procedures. So really, it's three: classroom management, policy and procedures, and your lesson plans. If you have those, everything else will fall into place. Okay, don't freak out about the 10 million other things that you're going to be asked to do. If you have those three things down, you're set. Okay, so again, I amended it from 2 to 3 things. Okay, let's see. Number 5. This goes back to not being afraid to ask questions. Number 5, tap into your resources. Okay, you are not the only person at your school. You're not the only teacher there. Okay, you are surrounded by veteran teachers more than likely. Okay, so tap into those sources, whether they are teachers within your department. Like I said, my school was 6 through 12, so I would ask middle school teachers. I would even ask the high school English teachers for advice or suggestions on novels, or well, how did you teach this standard, or how did they respond when you did whatever in your class as a strategy, as a classroom management strategy. So tap into your resources, and resources can be colleagues. Resources are everywhere, whether they're colleagues, websites, also specialists. Like your school will probably have a reading specialist, like if you're an English teacher like myself, a reading or language arts specialist, so they can help you pull sources. If you need resources for teaching grammar or for test prep or whatever, they can help you. That's what they're there for, to help you guys find sources and just help guide you through the process of teaching whatever it is that you need help with. Also, websites, actually, let me back up, back to specialists and colleagues real quick. My mentor, she was a high school English teacher. She taught 10th and I think 11th grade English. But there were so many times that she went to bat for me. Like, she would dig and, go to the book room, and she would just pull sources for me. She would request things for me. So she was so helpful. So if you can, find yourself a mentor of some sort. And that's another resource here, mentor. If some schools will assign you a mentor, I was fortunate enough at my school, phenomenal school, where they actually assigned every teacher, even if you weren't necessarily a new teacher, but if you were new to that school, they would assign you a mentor. And that was so helpful, because there were so many times I came to her just like, she was just talking me off the edge. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. And I'm like, am I doing this right? And I don't know if I'm cut out for this. And she just really put things in perspective for me. And she just gave me just like advice that was just so helpful. And it really made everything go so much more smooth. If for whatever reason that you are not given a mentor, get to know some of your colleagues, some of your fellow teachers, those veterans. Even a teacher that's only, 1 year, first year teacher, and the teacher's a second year, they can help you, because they've gone through trial and error. So there's at least something that they could help you with that, or tell you that you didn't know before. So maybe they have books, or maybe they have something that they can kind of show you the ropes on. But definitely meet teachers, especially in your subject area, if you're teaching middle school and up. But if you're elementary, just find another teacher in your grade, okay, that can really kind of show you the ropes and answer a lot of your questions, okay. Also, what I was about to say a moment ago, websites. There are a ton of websites. If you really just need ideas, whether it's ideas on lesson plans or if you need resources, I like to pull a lot of classic writings and things like that you can do that are just on public domain, like maybe the Declaration of Independence or the preamble to the Constitution. Like, you can get that off of Google, okay. And I would print like class sets of those. Actually, I might do a video, depending on the response for this. I might do a video just on some little neat resources or strategies and little tricks of the trade that I've learned along the way that people have either taught me or I just came up with. But yeah, websites like Google, Pinterest is really, really, really helpful for teachers. People may not realize it, but I got so many awesome ideas from Pinterest. Um, I had this wall of fame in my classroom this past year where I had like famous writers, and I would print them out like pictures of famous writers of all like background cultures and backgrounds and things, and I print them on these huge posters, and the whole wall was just taken up with these authors, and it was like a big focal point in my room, and everyone always loved that wall, and I got that idea from Pinterest. Okay, no, I'm not being paid by anybody to do a product plug or anything like that, but I just got a lot of ideas from it. Also, YouTube. I got the idea of what was it? The interactive notebooks from YouTube. I saw a teacher. She was like a fifth grade math and science teacher, and she explained, how to do interactive notebooks. But I just took it a step further because I had middle school, and I was only teaching one subject. I got the 5 subject notebook instead of the 1 subject like she did, and that way I eliminated paper, loose paper in my classroom. So websites like that are really helpful. Number 6, I'm going to try to hurry up because I didn't mean to go on for 16 minutes. Be proactive rather than reactive. This is another big thing that my mentor really helped me with. She said that in her experience, she's found that when she keeps parents in the loop about what's going on or what's going to take place in class, that really eliminates parents like kind of, I gotta find a good way of saying this, but sometimes parents might get a little overzealous and like emailing you all the time or calling you all the time and asking a million and one questions. Well, when I took that advice and I started doing is I started doing monthly emails. Well, I would send a mass email out to all the parents I had listed their contact information in my school email, and I would send out maybe monthly emails just saying like, hey, just welcome, or maybe even quarterly, like welcome to the 3rd quarter of the year. This quarter we're going to be covering these topics. These are some of the readings we're going to be doing. And then also, especially if they have a project or a big test coming up, it really helps if you send out, you don't have to, but if you choose to, just send out a quick email just saying, just letting you know they're having this project coming up soon. These are the due dates. And I even attach like the actual project paper that I give out to the kids, explaining them what the project is and what their expectations are. I'll attach that to the parent email, so nobody can say, well, I didn't know, or I didn't, they never brought home a paper about a project. Well, you have it in your email, so that covers you, and that's what I mean by being proactive. Also, like just reminders for kids. Like I like to use the Remind 101 app for teachers. Sometimes I had a wall calendar where I would, it was laminated. So each month I could, just wipe it clean and update it with due dates and things like that. So they knew ahead of time. That's just another form of being proactive. Just little reminders like that. But yeah, keeping parents in a loop, and parents seem to really, really, really appreciate that. I can't tell you how many conferences I've been in with other teachers, and the parents are always like, man, I love that you keep me in the loop and I know when they're going to have a test, or that way I can stay on them about studying, or I know when they're going to have a project, and it's not like middle of the night, the day before, the night before it's due. I can have them working on it a week or 2 in advance. Okay, so that's a big thing, because that really helps establish that relationship with the parents as well, parents and guardians. 7, don't beat yourself up. Do not beat yourself up. There are going to be times where you're going to try a lesson and it doesn't work. It's okay. That's what teaching is. It's trial and error. You're going to try a lesson, this didn't work, or they got a little too rowdy, a little too into the lesson, so we got to scale it back. So it's a learning process. Just like they're learning, you are too, okay? It's like the teacher has become the student. It's the same concept. Like you're learning what works and what doesn't work. It's okay. So you just know in the future, I'm not going to do this time. I'll do it a little different, or maybe I'll make my group smaller because having 5 or 6 kids working together was a bad idea. So it's trial and error. So it's okay. Don't beat yourself up if you don't finish something when you want to, or you feel overwhelmed. Do not beat yourself up. You're one person. doing a lot. You're one person really doing the work of like 3 people. So don't beat yourself up. Okay? Like I said at the beginning, if your employer or your supervisor, your principal, whoever had enough confidence to hire you, then that says something about you as a person. So do not beat yourself up. Number 8, make time for yourself, whether it is during your planning period, just to sit in your room and listen to silence, or going home and watching something funny on Netflix or on TV, or going outside or working out. Whatever you got to do to decompress from the day and to leave the day's obligations and stresses at school, do that. Okay? Make time for yourself. Even on the weekends, you're going to be tempted to get work done. Make time for yourself every day. You have to. Okay? And let's see. Number 9, I only got 10. Well, I got 10. I shouldn't say only. Number 9, it's your class. So your classroom management plan does not have to be identical to the person next door to you. The stories you read, unless you guys establish this like in your standards or in your department or whatever, you don't have to do things exactly like the other teachers do it. You can put your own spin on your class because it is your class. Okay, as long as your policies or whatever are within the school policy, you're fine. So it's your class. Have fun with it. If you think that the kids respond better to doing it this way as opposed to the way this teacher does it, do it. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. What is going to help these kids learn? What's going to help them to better perform in the future? What's going to better prepare them for the next school year? I have 8th grade, so my kids are getting ready for high school. So I'm more concerned with how are they going to learn this so that they can apply it in 9th grade? That's my concern. Okay? So that's what's most important. Remember, it is your class. You are the teacher. You be creative. You have fun with the process. And then number 10, last but not least, know that you will get better each day. You will get better at what you do. You're not going to be nearly like the person you were the first day of school as the person you were the last day of school. You will get better each day. Just like in any profession, you will get better each day because you'll learn more, you'll know what works, what doesn't work, and then you'll adapt. So you will get better each day.